Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much to give me opportunity to explain about my article is implementations of knowledge sharing learning models based on competency for vocational students. We are a team research consists of AM Iqbal Akbar Asfar, Amir Fantovan Asfar, Adi Kurnia, Andi Haslinsi Asfar, and Andi Nuranisa. Uh, this study this study uses knowledge sharing model based on competency for vocational students in chemical engineering state Polytechnic of Ujung Pandang. The implementations of this model as form of the process of reducing the inability of students to analyze an issue that is very important, especially in thermal separation and diffusion course, which contains many formulations in solving problems in the efficiency of industrial equipment, which is full of mass transfer processes, which is the basis of student competency that must be mastered of a vocational student, especially in chemical engineering. Uh, as introductions, knowledge sharing is a goal-oriented transmission. Uh, this is from one student to another student. So this is the principle to from knowledge sharing that this is a goal-oriented transmission process from individual groups or organizations to other individuals, groups, or organizations. So this is knowledge sharing we'll be using for this is my subject for learning process to give students know one competencies as that it's very important to know one academic industrial in process. So the knowledge that is transferred, including experience, skill needed, and creates from one person to another, is not only an advantage for the organizations, but also has an impact that tends to increase the competence of the two individuals involved in the process. Knowledge sharing Knowledge sharing is about how to manage students to share their knowledge to other students, especially to share their competency and intangible assets about one process to other, especially for vocational field in chemical engineering, is about one principal process for one equipment. So from that, the knowledge will be arise because more understanding will be built. Knowledge and competence is a way to understand the meaning of knowledge in the context of the world of work. As example, in work industry or factory, that in one field for HR management, the term competency refers to the characteristic of a person who makes him successful at work. Competence is basic characteristic of an individual that has a cause and effect relationship with extraordinary work performance of work effectiveness. For that, organizations that place knowledge sharing will be build competence, faster knowledge placement, and be able to control innovation and creativity and organizational performance. So why I want to exploring this research, because we facing the problems of competency mastering and chemical engineering graduate student, especially for vocational student, is necessary to implement a modern knowledge sharing by considering the elaborations of determinants of success in the performance of chemical engineering students in mastering competence in the work field. Because organizations that place knowledge sharing will be competence, personal knowledge placement, and be able to control innovation and creativity and organizational performance. So we highlight that. So for this research method, I will using for design that is non-equivalent control group design or quasi-experiment. And the populations in the study were 50 students of the sixth semester and of the third semester of the chemical engineering department, amounting to 25 people for each class. The sample was determined based on purposive sampling technique. The independent variable is the model of knowledge sharing, while the dependent variable is the measure of students' competencies in the field of chemical engineering through the implementations of knowledge sharing, modern knowledge sharing, competency based on subject and diffuse mass transfer. And for this statistical, I using normality testing. Normality testing to see whether the data is normally distributed or not before testing the hypothesis. The normality test aims to find out whether the data analyzed comes from a population with a normal distribution or not. Based on the interpretations of the results of the normality test, it was found that the pre-test for the experimental class and control class came from the data that was normally distributed, and on the result of normality testing in the post-test of the experimental class and the control class came from data that was normally distributed. So you can see from the value of probability bigger than alpha. So the homogeneity testing is carried out to find out whether the research data has a homogeneous variant or not. In the study, the homogeneity test was carried out based on the similarity test for the two classes of variants using the test feature at the level of probability or alpha equal 0.05. With the testing criteria, namely if F counts um, more or less uh, smaller than F table. The data of the two groups have the same variant or homogeneous. And for the gain test in the study aims to see the difference between the post-test and pre-test scores of both classes, experiment and control class. Gain shows an increase in a student competence after the applications of the model knowledge sharing in the experimental class and the application of learning models different in the control class. Based on the test gain test in table, I show for your screen, it can be concluded that this experimental class, which is 7.9, has a high change compared to the control class, obtain a mean of 6.22. This proves that there is increase in competency abilities student after implementing the model knowledge sharing in experimental class. For conclusion, this research that refers to increase in mastery of course material on subject diffusional mass transfer as a basic form of competence that must be measured by chemical engineering student or vocational student related to civil equipment industry in calculating the process and efficiency of tools and process analysis. These results showed that pre-test and post-test had increased, which was seen in the GAN test, namely in the experimental class and control class, respectively 7.9 and 6.22, which means that the learning outcomes through the implementation of knowledge sharing learning model, we are able to increase students' knowledge in mastering tension calculates the diffusional mass transfer or process as one competence for student in chemical engineering. I think that's all. Thank you very much. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.